You're listening to Behind the Mic Media, where stories come alive and conversations inspire. From actors and musicians to authors and creators, host Dawn Mack takes you behind the mic for exclusive interviews, real moments, and the stories that connect us all. Get ready. The show starts now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn Mack, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode is a special one, and I'm joined by one of the most beloved storytellers of our time, Richard Paul Evans. From his timeless debut, The Christmas Box, to his newest release, The Christmas Stranger, Richard has spent decades reminding readers that love, hope, and redemption are at the heart of every great story, especially during the Christmas season. His books have touched millions around the world and become cherished holiday traditions for so many families. We'll be talking about his incredible journey as a writer, the inspiration behind The Christmas Stranger, and the powerful messages of kindness and grace that continue to make his stories so meaningful year after year. Please welcome Richard Paul Evans. I'm so excited to welcome my guest today. He's a New York Times bestselling author whose stories have become a cherished part of so many families' traditions. Please help me welcome Richard Paul Evans to the show. Richard, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I want to start out by, talking about this brand new book. But before we get there, you've written stories that have touched hearts across generations, from The Christmas Box to now The Christmas Stranger. And when you look back on that incredible journey that you have had, what do you think first drew you to tell stories that heal, and what keeps that fire burning inside you to keep writing them?
Wow. There's a sense of destiny that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. My first book was accidental. I wanted to write something for my children. I had these little girls. I was madly in love with them. I didn't want to be a dad, didn't want to be a parent. Came from a large, poor family, and I just like, why would I want to put them through anything like that? And fortunately, someone straightened me out. And I had these two little girls, Jen and Allison, who I absolutely adore. And at the time, I was just like so in love with fatherhood. I wrote The Christmas Box for them, that someday when they're older, they'd read it. Little Jenna in The Christmas Box is now an international best-selling author herself. She has her own first movie, and she's mega famous in Brazil. She gets thousands of people turn out to see her. It's Jenna Evans Welch with Love and Gelato. That's my little push for my daughter. But when I wrote that book, I printed 20 copies. I thought it was done. I didn't realize that the book had a much greater mission and went on to sell 8 million copies. So after The Christmas Box, I tried to get away from the Christmas genre, and my sales slowly declined from having the number one book in the world to barely hitting the bestseller list. And I decided if I'm going to write just one more book, I'll write a Christmas book. And that was Finding Noel, and the book exploded. People Magazine, Entertainment Weekly gave it raving reviews. It went back for another 100,000 copies in print, and it was they called it Richard Renaissance. And I thought, well, I guess you dance with who brung you to the dance.
Mm-hmm.
So I've written a Christmas story ever since then. And then on the side, I wrote the Michael Bay series and the Walk series. What drives me, it's like, well, that's what I do. That's who I am. And I'm grateful for the chance that I get to write books.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading The Christmas Box, and I was so moved by that story, and I cried. And I think it was the first book I'd ever read where I actually shed tears, and I was an avid reader all my life growing up. But I don't know, there was just something about that book. And it wasn't until years later that I learned the backstory about how you wrote that book, and you wrote it for your children, and you self-published it, and then it went on to become this New York Times bestseller. And it was like, because I remember reading it thinking I'd never heard of you until I read the book, and I was like, I don't know who this author is, but he's phenomenal. And it just really moved me and touched me in such a way, as I'm sure with all the millions that you've sold of the book, so many people could resonate and say the same. So thank you for pursuing that and not giving up the dream, because I wondered at that particular
Yeah.
time, did you ever envision you would be where you are today and have all the success that you've had?
Well, not certainly not when I started. But the book just had its own life, and I started to watch things happen, and it took a tremendous amount of work, and it was terrifying at times. And we really, my wife Carrie and I, we really risked everything, to do it. It's every penny of our savings, and when money would come in from the book, I would just turn around and put it back out because I believe the book had a mission. And in addition to, launching my career, I've now written 48 New York Times bestsellers, and I have 8 movies. It launched a charity that I spend a lot of time with. It's called the Christmas Box House. We help abused and neglected children, and to date, we've helped more than 175,000 children. And so,
Oh,
talk about a mission. It's like that's maybe what I'm most proud of, to impact these kids' lives. And as they get older, it gets more and more fun.
yeah. I mean, I love to hear someone like yourself who just gives back in such an enormous way. And it just, not only from the books you write to this charity you have, but how it just impacts people in such a positive way. And I think sometimes that's the bigger message that comes out of what you're able to do in your career and so forth.
Well, thank you. And I don't, I
Um,
don't, I don't take it for granted. I'm very grateful.
yeah,
And I just,
I can imagine.
I work with thousands of authors, literally, and who all have that dream and would like to. I'm lucky. I get to be someone who writes for a living.
mhm. Very fortunate indeed. Well, as you mentioned, you're a 48-time New York Times best-selling author, and some are calling The Christmas Stranger your best novel yet. Why do you think that is?
And by the way, you said 48 times. That actually just happened an hour ago. We just got news from the New York
We're going
Times.
to give credit where credit is due, though.
Yeah, New York Times. It's number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list, and I'm very grateful, very excited. This one, last I checked, it had like 4.9 stars on Amazon, and Goodreads, which is usually pretty snarky, had 4.8 stars. So it's the
Oh,
highest rated of any of my books so far. Um, Terry Brooks, the author Terry Brooks, who wrote Sword of Shannara, um, he said once that sometimes the magic happens. And as writers, we always work, we always dig deep and give the best we can. But every now and then something really powerful happens, and it's like a gift from the universe. And this one had that. When I got to the final kind of twist in the book, when it came to me, I literally started crying. I was like, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this is genius and so powerful that I can't stop crying. And now I've heard that from hundreds of people already because the book's already sold thousands and thousands of copies, even though it just came out a week ago. And they're saying the same thing. No one has told me they saw the twist at the end. There's several twists. No one saw them coming. And when you see it, it's like now everything makes sense. And that I can't take credit for it. I mean, because it surprised me as much as it does the readers when it came to me. I just thought, you got to be kidding. It's too beautiful. It's
mhm.
too moving. And so that's what I say. I always work hard, but now and then you get blessed with this incredible magic that just I'm so excited to share with readers. Like, okay, just trust me, read this book. I've had if you read the reviews, what someone said it's my best book. Someone says it's the best book they've read this year, and one wrote it's the best book she's ever read in her life. And it's like, wow, the way the book is impacting people, and I believe will save lives because
Wow.
it deals with some really powerful issues about why we live and why we don't just take our lives.
Yeah. And, as I'm listening to you describe that, for it to impact you that way, and you're the author,
Yeah.
imagine how much more impactful that story is on just the reader who doesn't have that kind of connection to the book. So that's incredibly powerful. And you're right. I mean, that comes from a whole different place, that just works through you, it seems like.
Yeah, it feels it's like a gift, a spiritual gift. And so, and you've heard it, said this, no tears in the author, no tears in the reader.
Hmm.
And I mean, the thing is there are parts of this book that I laughed out loud. I was almost crying with laughter. It's like, okay, the book's funny. This book to me, it's very rich. I mean, I think it's part romance, it's part inspiration, and it's part mystery. And what a great combination. And so I hear over and over again, you owe me sleep. I was up all night reading it. And that's what I look for. If someone can't put the book down, then that's a good thing.
That's always good. And when you can have different elements in that way in the book, all in one book, one story, I think it just makes for such a much more fascinating read altogether because you never know what's going to be around the corner. And it's just a great story built in as well. And I think that's the beauty of writing. You can take something, by the way, in terms of writing, it just kind of came to me, but how do you get your inspiration? Because I mean, you've written so many novels that have just exploded in success. And where do you get your ideas for your books and to be able to keep putting out these bestsellers?
Well, and I really owe a lot to my very loyal readers. I mean, we're a tribe and I adore them. I had a book banned, and four of my readers were pulled out of bookstores by police. They're very loyal, they're
Wow.
hardcore, and I absolutely adore them. And they keep me writing. Also keep me writing my best. They deserve the best. Um, I don't know where books come from. Stephen King said that he doesn't make up books; he discovers them. He feels like he feels like an explorer. What is it? Someone who's like dusting the dust off bones of dinosaur bones. Like he discovered this skeleton that was already here. And the reporter from the New York Times said, "I don't believe you," and he said, "That's okay, as long as you believe that I believe this." And when I read that, I thought that's exactly right. If I start going off course, it's like, nope, wrong story. And it feels like the stories already exist. So I just go along for the ride. Christmas Stranger, I wasn't sure how it ended. And boy, when I got near the end, it's like, oh my gosh, this is such a good book. And I'm so grateful for it. But I've had them come. I had a book called A Christmas Memory. And also, many of your listeners probably have seen The Noel Diary. It was the number one movie in the world on Netflix, starring Justin
Mm,
Hartley
yeah.
and a very big director, Charles Shire. And that was partially based on my childhood. And I remember after the red carpet event, Charles Shire said to me, he goes, Richard, I didn't know this was part of your life. And I said, yeah, some things are drawn from your life. Sometimes they just happen. In the case of this book, I was really struggling at the time with depression. And I didn't realize I was taking a medication that actually was making me suicidal. I didn't
Oh,
realize it was a very dangerous, and I was struggling really hard trying to keep alive. It sounds weird, but as soon as I went off the medication, within 12 hours, never came back. It was totally fine. Uh,
wow.
but it was late at night. I took my little dog for a walk at midnight, and I'm just standing out there, and all of a sudden, I just broke down, sobbing. I just couldn't stop. It's like I'm filled with such incredible grief and sadness, and I don't know why. It's like my life is fine. People who haven't been through it and don't understand that, they want to say, well, just, get over it. Or it's like, well, what happened in your life? No, nothing happened. It's a mental illness. It's like, it's like telling someone with pneumonia to just get over it.
Hmm.
It's like, no, it's a very real thing.
Yeah, it
And as
is.
I sat there, just sitting in the road crying and thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be alive at the end of this year. Um, Suddenly the story came. And it came so clearly. And I don't know why I needed to be broken open like that. Um, I went home and I wrote 5 chapters, clean, just clean chapters. It was like I was watching a movie. So, they come in different ways. And I've had so many powerful experiences. I would never be so arrogant to say that they come all from me. I've been blessed with these stories and, 48 New York Times bestsellers. That doesn't just happen. So I'm just very, very grateful.
Yeah, I mean, and so thank you for sharing that, by the way. And I'm glad you made it through it. I had a family member that was put on very similar situation, was put on some medication, and it caused him to almost do the same and came off the medication. And then they realized he was prescribed, the wrong medication, and it nearly cost him his life. And so, but out of that, good came, so to speak, in your case, and that you wrote this incredible book that was based on personal experience, which was, I think, probably made for a remarkable story because you've lived it in a way, that you were able to convey that in a story to your readers. And so I don't know, when it's organic like that, there's there's just such a genuineness about it that it's not faked. It's and people can identify with that and they can feel that. I think when you read a book like that.
Yeah, I think so too. When I mentor authors, what I always tell them is, you got to, you've got to be authentic. You've got to be true to yourself. And if you're trying to write a bestseller, you'll never do it
Yeah.
because I don't know how to write a bestseller. And after the Christmas box, they paid me millions of dollars to write another bestseller. And I soon realized I have no idea how to write a bestseller. I only
Hmm.
know how to write something that matters to me.
Yeah.
And so I accepted failure and just wrote something that was very small, not trying to get big, but actually trying to get small, focus on things that touched my heart and were important to me. And it turns out that that's exactly what the world's looking for.
Hmm.
I say in the Walk series, it's better to be loved by one person who knows your heart than a million people who don't even know your phone number.
Right.
It's like if you don't know their phone number, you certainly don't know their heart. You don't know what they need or
Mm-mm.
what they're thinking. And so I soon learned to, it's like just write and trust that people are more similar than you think they are.
Hmm. That's true. And I really believe that anytime you can read a novel that you feel personally seen or you feel some attachment to because it resonates with you so deeply, it's going to stay with you long after you've closed the book and read the last page. I
Yes.
know that many readers, describe finishing one of your books as feeling seen and like your stories reach a part of their soul almost. And so, how conscious are you of that emotional impact while you're writing? And and you've spoken on that. It seems to happen pretty naturally, but apparently, it's a formula that works, even though it's not really a formula. Because readers, the takeaways that they come away with when they finish one of your books is has lasting impacts for sure.
Yeah, they're different, and yeah, I don't. The only formula I have is that I have a unrelenting optimism. I do believe in good. I do believe in people's hearts. People do horrible things, and my books aren't Pollyanna. Horrible things happen, in my
Mhm.
books. This one it starts out with a lot of sadness. Um, and but that's what life is about. And as Gabriel in my book, this is the book, by the way, if you haven't seen it, the Christmas Stranger. Gabriel, the book says, if there's no darkness, you'd never see the stars.
Oh my, that's
Yeah.
powerful.
He goes, why is it? He goes, why? Yeah, it's like, why do we have to suffer? It's like, you're missing the point. That is why we're here.
Hmm.
It's like, you're here to learn, and you're here to learn and grow. This is one
That's right.
step. And he's pointing out, this is one step of many.
Hmm.
You know,
That's
you're,
true. And
you're
if we ever stop learning, we stop growing. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
and and
We weren't here to have a good time. That's not really what life is about.
that's so true. That's
Yeah.
so true. If we were, we would never face challenges. We would never have anything bad happen in our lives that where it forces us to grow, and to change if necessary. Um, Now, are you going to be going on a national book tour with this book?
A little bit. Yeah, it's kind of cool because my wife and I always said that we have 5 children, and as of last year, we're empty nesters. And we
Oh,
always said
wow.
someday the day would come that we would go on book tour together. And when they're gone, well, that happened. Well, unfortunately, they don't do book tours very much anymore.
Hmm.
After COVID and the expense of it, it's like, wow, for the cost of a book tour, I can get tens of millions of views on social media.
Right.
And so it's changed. But I wanted her to see the people I love, these people who have supported for me for all these years. So we're actually going to 5 cities. We're going to Cincinnati, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Carmel, Indiana. Um, I guess it's 6. Then we're going to Milwaukee and then Madison, Wisconsin, where my daughter is doing her residency and have
Oh,
Thanksgiving with her.
that's
So
great.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love how you're able to make it like a family event. You're going to stop off and see your daughter and, and just really make it a meaningful time for all of you, as well as the fans who will be able to see you out the tour as well. Now, you mentioned that the Noel Diary, was on Netflix a couple years ago. Are there any plans to make this book into a Netflix film?
I have a lot of film interests. In fact, I'm working on three movies right now.
Oh, wow.
Uh, well, Noel Diary was huge. Up to that point, my movies had been successful on Hallmark, and The Christmas Box was the number one rated movie of the year when it came out in America. But wow, Netflix was number one in the world over all streaming services, not just Netflix, over HBO and Amazon and everyone. It was massive. And so when you have something like that happen, then people all of a sudden notice. So I have some producers going through all of my work saying, what can we produce now? And I've also been working with two very successful screenwriters, and it's been fun. We meet every Monday and online like this, and we're creating another movie. So, exciting stuff is going on. I didn't think at this time in my career, I thought it was kind of winding up. I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's not happening that way. It's like things are going well, and the movie stuff is much more active than it's ever been.
And I think, society, when you look at COVID and you look at how people have, it's just changed the way people look at life and look at things. And there is such a strong desire, I think, from the public now who go and see movies. They want to see movies that make you feel good when you leave, that give you hope. And I mean, we're in a time right now where, the world needs more of it more than ever. And so in times when the world feels really divided and uncertain, how do you personally refill your own well of hope to keep writing uplifting stories?
Well, and that's a really good point because every book's a journey and an experience.
Hmm.
I feel like I live the story with the characters. And so this book is more spiritual than most of mine. And the only book I can compare it to is my first book, The Christmas Box. And it deals with, are there angels? Do people interact in our lives? Um, Short story, my nephew, when he was 4 years old, I think of a 4 year old, they're pretty darn young. My in-laws were camping and he wandered off into the wilderness. He was lost. And when they noticed he was gone, they of course freaked out. They ran around screaming his name and nothing. They couldn't find him. And they got the Rangers and rescue people teams came out looking for him and looking for him. And it's starting to get dark and they're terrified. A 4 year old boy wandering through the mountains. And um, and then they found him just as it was getting dark. They found him sitting on a tree stump, just sitting there. And he was just calm. And he said, "Aren't you, David, aren't you afraid?" He goes, "No." I said, "Why aren't you afraid?" And he said, "Well, the nice man held my hand."
Oh,
What man? He goes, "He had a white robe and a white beard. He was all white and he held my hand. And then he told me to sit here and you would be here in a few minutes."
oh my goodness.
And it's like, no, 4 year old doesn't make that up.
Mm,
And especially in that kind of
okay.
situation. And they find him sitting there and it's like, okay, so who was with him? You know,
That's right. And the fact
so
he had such overwhelming peace, you would think a child that small being lost would be just panicked that, where's mommy,
absolutely.
where's daddy? And the fact that when you found it or when he was found, he was just as calm as he could be and at
Yeah,
peace.
yeah, absolutely. So, and my book actually starts with a true story, and it's about another writer friend of mine and his experience. And his happened at the top of a mountain, and it's pretty cool. The book starts with that, and it sets up my book. It's like this is that kind of story, and you
Hmm.
decide if it's true or not. You decide if this happens or not. And so I put it back on the reader. It's up to you if you believe in this.
And I
So
love that because you're not forcing anything through your story on the readers. You're letting them choose for themselves, decide for themselves. But that's really kind of the beauty of spirituality because we're all given that gift of free will to choose and to decide for ourselves. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why your works are so powerful and they impact people in such a way. Because people at the end of the day, we all want to have hope, we all want to have faith, and we all want to believe. And that a higher power exists and that there's a lot more at play than just ourselves. It has to be,
which is
and
true.
that's the
Absolutely
beauty of
true.
it.
Yeah,
I
there
mean,
is.
you're right. We were put here for a greater purpose than even we realize at times.
Yeah. So that's what. And that's what drives my
Yeah.
books. And this is the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard said that we can understand our lives looking backwards, but life
Mm-hmm.
must be lived forward.
Yeah.
And that really is what this book's about. And I look back at my career, it's like when my first book, I wrote the first book. It was kind of insane to see everything that fell in place for that to become the biggest book in the world.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was told, like, a voice told me, I'm sitting in the car trying to peddle a book that no one wants. I went to a book signing, I had a book signing, no one came to it. And while I'm sitting there, this voice said to me, your book will spread throughout the world. You have no idea.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wow. It's like, no, nothing's happening here. And I still struggled and kept going. And then when it went, it went. And all of a sudden I'm getting calls from, Today Show and Time Magazine and Newsweek and just everything's, it's like, when it hit so hard and so big. And then the movie comes out and it's massive. And it was such an incredible miracle,
Mm-hmm.
all of it. And I got the advantage, a really cool opportunity to sit in the front row and watch it.
Oh, wow.
And seeing this all lay out, um, I will never say this is something I made happen. I worked harder than you can possibly imagine. I put everything into it, risked it. But when it all came down to it, I may have put the work in, but God gave the increase. When it
That's
happened,
right.
it's like, okay, I didn't make that happen. This door opened, and all of a sudden, and weird things would happen. I'd get in the elevator, and there'd be a major, the host of a major TV show sitting in the elevator, and we start talking, and next thing you know, it's like, I want you on my show. Within the elevator time, within 3 floors, they say, I want you on my show. Okay, so that's things like that were happening all the time. It was ridiculous. I got to go on TV show,
That's just divine intervention reinforcing or
all
reassuring
over.
you that, he's in control. And, I'm a firm believer, and I've often told friends throughout my life that the only way you can really have your life make sense is look at it in reverse, all
Yeah,
the way back to the
yeah,
beginning. And you
yeah.
see how all the dots
Kierkegaard.
connect to kind of lead you to where you are present day. And although we are not gifted with the ability to see into the future, to see what's to come, God knows what's coming. And so he sets the stage for us, even if we don't realize it. But when we look back, we clearly see why this thing or that thing had to happen or lead us to this, whatever decision we made or whatever happened in our lives to get us to that point. And it's really beautiful the way it's designed that way, because we always are having to move forward, even though seeing our life in reverse is really the way it kind of all makes sense.
Exactly. Well said.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about your brand new book. And I can't wait to read it. I haven't had a chance to get it yet, but I
It
am
is.
looking forward to it. I know I love that cover.
It's a
And
great cover, isn't it?
it
Yeah.
really is. And but I believe, you're at number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list currently, but I have a feeling that's going to change really quickly. So, but thank you so much for your time. I know you're incredibly busy, but it's been such an honor to chat with you about your enormous career and just how remarkable it is. And I look forward to many more books coming from you, because I don't think you're finished yet.
I don't think so yet. So thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. What a wonderful conversation with Richard Paul Evans. A heartfelt thank you to him for joining me today and sharing the heart and inspiration behind The Christmas Stranger. His stories remind us that the spirit of Christmas lives in compassion, forgiveness, and the quiet ways love changes lives. You can find The Christmas Stranger wherever books are sold. It's a story sure to warm your heart this holiday season. I'm Dawn Mack, and I hope today's conversation has inspired you to slow down, savor the season, and find joy in the simple, meaningful moments that make Christmas so special. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, may your days be filled with peace, love, and a little Christmas magic.
Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Mic Media with your host, Dawn Mack. Be sure to follow the show online at behindthemicmedia.com and connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, Threads, and TikTok, all at Behind the Mic Media. And don't miss our YouTube channel, where you can watch all of our interviews and exclusive moments. Make sure to like and subscribe so you'll be notified whenever a new episode drops. Until next time, thanks for listening. And remember, the best stories are the ones shared behind the mic.